Sunday, right here on twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. It's the Plex. 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific and on into red light. We have the worst news in the week that no one else will cover. The Plex has it all. Conspiracy, right-wing nut jobs, Christian extremism, and Madison Star Moon. Tune in every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/Echoplex Media and find our full schedule at echoplexmedia.com.
See the same people every other day, but we never say hey, cause we're never looking the way, or my face was in my notebook. We passed each other, didn't look. But these are the people of the towns, of the towns, the towns, of the towns. And large cities are just a bunch of big small towns, overlapping side by side, big small towns. I see new people every day. Everyone's on their way, doing the things that fill their day. And I'm going places too, doing the things that I do with my time. We are the people of the towns, of the towns, the towns, of the towns. And large cities are just a bunch of big small towns, diagonal, top to bottom, big small towns. Be nice to the people of the towns, once in a while look around, cause what's going around's coming around. What came around's coming around. What's going around's coming around. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around in the big small towns. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around in the big small towns. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around the big small towns.
All right, everybody, welcome to Downballot. We usually do this show live on Friday evening, but we're pre-recording this afternoon. Thanks for joining me at an odd time, Councilman.
As always, I'm ready to go as long as the bad baby is adequately sedated. And for right now, she's sleeping in the next room. But who knows? She might make an appearance before the end of the hour. So we'll see what happens. But it's always great to be with you. And it's even better when it's daylight out. That way I don't have to turn on any lights and waste electricity. You know, it can all go right into the juice of hopefully powering this awful, evil MacBook and all the other devices I have here.
Fantastic. So I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr, and you're the councilman. Where can you be found?
Well, if Twitter is still there, you could find me at THE_councilman. You can also find me hanging around City Hall. I'm in San Jose. I'm usually there for one reason or another, even if it's just to harass our elected representatives, which I've been doing a lot lately, and taking the baby with me. She's going to be making an appearance in public comment soon enough, too. So we'll be able to have a little bit bad baby clip on Down Ballot at one point.
Very nice. Well, let's get going here. What do we have for leading off this week?
Well, leading off is sort of like following up from last week's fallout with Silicon Valley Bank collapsing, and of course a few other banks nationwide, but here the most relevant collapse was Silicon Valley Bank. So we're going to learn a little bit more about what that fallout means and what the collapse of that bank means for the local tech industry and the local startup industry. And I think ABC 7 News has the story.
To developing news, U.S. tech and finance sectors are calling on the federal government to work out a solution for the failed Silicon Valley Bank. The bank was known for helping early-stage startups. ABC 7 News reporter Ansar Hassan explains there is also fear that many of these Silicon Valley startups risk collapse if they lose their money.
Mahmoud Pajwani, chairman of Infinism, says his company can't make payroll.
All our cash was at SVB. We have no other recourse. There is no payroll for Monday.
The company provides automation software for the chip industry. Pajwani says even before this company, he's been working with Silicon Valley Bank since the 1980s.
And the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation is only guaranteeing $250,000. We have millions. Are we going to be just shut down if this is not resolved?
Silicon Valley Bank has been funding Silicon Valley innovation for decades. With a total valuation of more than $200 billion, the bank collapsed on Friday after running out of money, taking a huge loss in its bond portfolio and with venture capital drying up.
I don't want to name specific countries, but boy, oh boy, if we don't fix this right now, we would have given our competitors overseas a gift by stopping us right now.
This is a seismic shock into the Bay Area economy. If all of these companies are limited to the deposit insurance limits of $250,000, you're going to see a collapse of a generation of startups here in Silicon Valley.
Corey Johnson is the host of the Drill Down podcast and managing member of Epistrophe Capital. He says the FDIC has tremendous powers to come up with emergency solutions. He says it's actively trying to sell pieces of the bank's business this weekend in the hopes of generating liquidity so companies can get their deposits out. But Johnson says the FDIC has to tread carefully.
And I think it's hard to get a national consensus around rescuing Silicon Valley and Californians. The East Coast media is blaming technology and crypto. People in the middle of the country are mad at the wealth that they perceive that Californians took all this risk with their Silicon Valley Bank.
Johnson adds there's still the potential of an even greater risk if the contagion spreads to other regional or smaller banks come Monday.
I trust that Governor Newsom and that Janet Yellen and the FDIC and the White House can recognize what a big problem this could be and will step in with the right solutions.
In Silicon Valley, Ansar Hassan, ABC 7 News.
Thoughts, producer Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I think like they should backstop payroll, certainly. But beyond that, I don't know. Like, if you're like an individual and you're putting more than $250,000 in any like bank account where it's just sitting there as cash or whatever, then you get what you get.
Yeah, and you're more than likely doing pretty well if you have that kind of liquidity anyway, or like not liquidity, but if you have that kind of wealth.
Yeah. I'm not
to have that sitting there.
I'm not playing a violin for you if all you can recover out of this personally is $250,000.
All right. Well, speaking of which, looks like sort of the rank and file Silicon Valley Bank depositors, or should we say, members, clients, lined up to try to get some of their hard-earned dollars out recently too. So it's affecting not just obviously startups and big VC and tech folks, but also mom and pop. This is NBC Bay Area with the story.
Thousands of people and hundreds of companies, big and small, this was a near disaster. But this story is far from over. People actually started lining up this morning before 7 o'clock, hoping to get their money out of Silicon Valley Bank. Our business and tech reporter Scott Budman joins us now with the latest story of this bank.
But this is an ongoing operation. This is a new bridge bank. Everything is safe and secure.
The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation arrived at Silicon Valley Bank headquarters with advice
Give them some coffee, Sarah.
and donuts, telling nervous depositors in line they'll get their money back from the seized bank. And they did after a nail-biting weekend.
Big relief, I guess.
Oh, yeah, it was a big surprise because, I mean, you know, a bank is in for 25 years and they were probably in for more than that, but that's how long I was with them. And for this step.
And all I got was this stinking donut.
Really surprised.
The bank was seized by the feds last week after a 2-day free fall sparked by investor panic. Today, account holders filed in 2 by 2, many of them grateful startup CEOs who say the money they got out today means they can now make payroll.
We hope to have the money as close as it can be to somewhere where I feel a lot safer about it, and learn a bit more about exactly what's going on, because things are moving very, very quickly.
Safety was a theme here. One finance CEO told us her advice is, don't keep all your eggs in one bank's basket.
I mean, one, obviously diversification is something that I think everyone is going to be looking at coming out of this, not keeping all of your money in one bank.
She also says she is confident that in the future, venture capital money and startup money will have a relationship with banks here in Silicon Valley. By the way, the bank will reopen to give out more deposits tomorrow at 9 a.m., but the FDIC says you don't have to come here physically. You can go onto their website. It was a bit glitchy today. They say it should work more smoothly tomorrow. Live in Santa Clara, Scott Budman, NBC, Bay Area News.
Looks like everything's fine.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see if they can create, like they said in the previous story, if the feds can create enough liquidity for the bank, as they say, and you know, generate enough cash flow that they can, you know, cash out these folks and at least, like you said, fill payroll. That would be great. If we can make everyone whole, that'd be amazing. But I doubt that's going to happen. And like you said, you get what you get. That's the bargain in our capitalist society.
Well, the people who showed up there got their money out. So
yeah, that's a good thing. Ben Sand got his money out, it looks like. So anyway, moving on to winners and losers, some folks who don't have any money left, it looks like. It's the Catholic Diocese of Oakland. So I guess they're facing so many lawsuits that they just can't afford to pay them all, right?
They can't even afford
Chapter 11.
They can't even afford for this video to run.
Seriously, what's going on here? ABC's having I saw it briefly.
We'll try again here. Let's see. These web players for local news sites are just terrible. So, do you know what happened with this story? Because we're not going to get this local news hit to go.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, I'm sure, somewhere. But it basically, long story short, everyone is well aware of this. This is something that got put in the chat, actually. So shout out to the Discord. Sorry, the Discord. Bay Area News. If you're in that channel, drop some links for us. We love to post them. We'll definitely cover anything you drop because we get good stories, but they're rare. So please continue to drop them in there. Long and short of it is, obviously the Catholic Church is dealing with a huge flow of allegations and lawsuits pertaining to sexual abuse and other kinds of abuse, particularly in light of recent laws that have extended the statute of limitations, right, on how long you can go before filing charges or before pressing charges. And now it's pretty much indefinite, out of respect to the victims who may not want, at the time of the abuse, come forward, right, or feel comfortable or safe coming forward, or even want to come forward at the time. So this new law is generating quite a few more lawsuits than normal, and it's putting a stress on the coffers at the local diocese, not just in Oakland, but in Santa Rosa. Apparently, their diocese is also filing for bankruptcy. So we can get video of it for next week, but it's another example of winners and losers, and they're just mostly losers, unfortunately, because even the victims, obviously, even if they're getting paid off, are losers in a way.
Yeah,
they didn't win. They're not losers. They didn't win. Basically.
Right. They got God dealt them a bad hand, or at least
Correct.
a bad church.
Yes. So hopefully we can fix both of these things. They can be made whole in financial way, but also their souls and the church's soul can be redeemed in some way.
Do you know what happens when a church goes bankrupt? Does the church just cease to exist, or?
I don't know that it ever has. I mean, there's bankrupt in terms of like just closing the doors, and then there's Chapter 11 bankruptcy and these other types of, like, bankruptcy is very strange, right? You're kind of basically declaring bankruptcy. You're declaring that you can't meet your debts, right? But you're also not necessarily shutting the door. You're just sort of declaring that, and then you work with, I guess, the IRS or whoever it is, the powers that be, to figure out a plan for either how you're going to get back to solvency, right, and pay off your debts, or, or close, right, foreclose. So it's not necessarily the end, and I'm guessing it's the Catholic Church, so I'm sure they're going to figure a way to cut back from it. This might just be a way of financially avoiding, ultimate ruin, right, and staving things off at the pass, as it were. That's generally what I hear. I don't know much about it, but that's what I hear Chapter 11 bankruptcy is all about. And it's just stopping the bleeding and trying to, hit bottoms that you can rebuild. So we'll see. We'll obviously get some video on this. We'll follow up on it. If it's the second diocese locally that's had this problem, I'm sure there will be more. The Santa Clara Diocese, or Santa Clara County, or San Jose Diocese has been experiencing a similar amount of complaints. So I know they're all stressed out right now. As a Catholic, it's for at least someone who's raised Catholic, it's very disturbing, but it's not surprising.
Well, I think that the big Catholic Church does have the money to bail these people out. I feel like the Pope probably has a golden cross worth $10 million just sitting like on his nightstand or something, right?
Well, I've the Good Wife and I toured the Vatican a couple years back, and the amount of antiquities and relics and other materials that are stowed away there is just phenomenal and amazing, and it's like priceless. They're just billions of dollars worth of stuff, just everywhere. So yeah, and granted, the current Pope is very progressive, right? I believe comes from a Jesuit background, which helps a lot. But still the Catholic Church, right? He's still probably on if you look at things on a conservative, liberal, sliding scale, he's certainly more towards the conservative side. But there's opportunity there, so hopefully we can get some progress in the church, because at least for the billion or so people in the world who are Catholic, hopefully we can get some, move the ball down the road a little bit and get our souls cleansed. That's what Jesus would want.
So our next story is about the ongoing power outages. I had the power go out for over 24 hours. And then it went down yesterday, but it only went down for 20 minutes or half an hour. So we were able to, luckily the power outage was on a day that there wasn't a show. We didn't have any real interruption in shows, though. Without power, I can't do things like release podcasts because, I could theoretically do it on a laptop, but then the data of the recording isn't on a laptop, and desktop computers don't have a battery, so you can't just turn them on. So it did kind of slow everything down for us, but it turns out it's not just me, and maybe I'm not the most important person in the world. Apparently, I think it was the windstorm took out power for a bunch of Bay Area schools.
It seems as though it did, and now some schools are coming back even without power because you got to educate the kids.
Right now at 11, the strong winds may be gone, but the impact of the powerful gusts lingers where students are out of school today because of the ongoing power outages in the major district where they're hitting the books anyway. Good morning. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. I'm Gia Vang. Laura Garcia is off.
And I'm Marcus Washington. A reminder for you, you can watch us live on Roku, Zumo, and online. Well, at noon, Governor Gavin Newsom is expected to survey storm damage areas in Monterey County. Meanwhile, there are still many people dealing with no power at their home here in the Bay Area.
That's right. PG&E says nearly 155,000 of its customers remain in the dark due to the strong and powerful winds. That is down from 167,000 earlier this morning. Most of the outages are in the South Bay. If you look at this map, that area has more than 83,000 customers with no power. The peninsula has more than 40,000 outages. East Bay, more than 29,000. The remaining outages are scattered through the North Bay and in San Francisco. PG&E is expected to deliver an update at noon about their power restoration restoration efforts, but some students, they are being forced to go to school with no electricity.
NBC Bay Area's Chris Sanchez picks up the story from there. And Chris, some of those schools taking a break, but some of those not so much.
You know, one of our biggest school districts is San Jose Unified, about 30,000 students in the South Bay, and they said they were going to open up campuses whether or not they had power. One of those campuses is Simons Elementary School here behind me, and the principal tells me that it's really half about learning continuation and half about supporting families as well. They want to make sure that families have somewhere to go. So teachers are going old school. They're working without technology, and come lunchtime, students will get lunches that can be served cold. The principal says the attendance is pretty good today. Only the children who are sick stayed home, and parents are grateful.
This is the safest place for kids to be. Families still have to go to work even though we don't have power. So we want to make sure that our kids have a safe place to be, and this is it.
It does get a little crazy, and you got to work and all that. Imagine talking to a customer, Mom, so-and-so hit me, Mom, like every few seconds. So I think it's wonderful.
Now, some districts did opt to cancel classes for today, including Campbell Union, which closed Forest Hill and Marshall Lane Elementary Schools, Campbell Union High School District, which closed Prospect and Westmont. Fremont Union High School closed several campuses, including Fremont, Lynbrook, and Monte Vista High School. Cupertino Union was pretty hard hit. They closed 16 middle and elementary schools, and De Anza College canceled all classes. Now, all of these campuses are supposed to reopen tomorrow, but if they don't, parents say they're going to continue getting creative.
We brought our lanterns and flashlights, and we did our art project with the first graders, and they had a really great time.
What's the mood in there?
Oh, it's like camping. They're excited.
Don't forget to follow us on social media.
School kids might have been excited, but I have high schoolers, and they have state testing. Fortunately, they do have power at their school, but if they had not had power, that state testing would have just been pushed back because they test on computers, and without power, you can't have the computers. So all of the power is supposed to be restored soon, although some people are getting notifications when they check that they will be out without power until Friday. The principal here says if they have no power until Friday, they'll keep doing what they're doing, bundling the kids up, getting some fresh air, having cold lunches, and teaching the old school way. In San Jose, Chris Sanchez, NBC Bay Area News.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, the younger kids probably love it, right?
Yeah, for them, like old school is like whatever. It's just a new experience, right? They're still so new to this stuff that, there's not a huge frame of reference, right? It's different for sure. I'm sure for them, but yeah, it's probably fun, like camping, right? Teachers, it's probably frustrating, especially the ones who are younger and who've been trained on all the new tools and technology. And using a chalkboard is kind of foreign to them, right? Or story time maybe. So, but no, I trust our teachers. They're very well trained and they know what they're doing. I do have to make one comment about the parents in this piece, as I always must, because I just love parents. And now as a parent myself, I've vowed not to become one of these folks that you just saw in the clip. There were two parents that they interviewed, and both of them, I don't think either one of them talked about how great this was for the education of their child, that they can continue to get educated. The school is willing to open up without power, and the teachers are working very hard to educate their child and get their child what they need in terms of that kind of sustenance, right? No, they both talked about, oh, thank God, now I can get shit done because you're taking care of my fucking kid.
It was more a daycare situation than
exactly.
And yeah, I mean, I can understand the parents' frustration if they're trying to work from home and maybe their power's off and they're trying to figure out ways to make work from home work for them without power. Yeah. And then the kids are bored because there's nothing to, I mean, I can understand the frustration, but maybe lead with thanking the people who are also working in a frustrating situation with 30 of your kids or more. Yeah. And then be like, and also working from home is hard enough. Our power's been spotty and the kids would have been very, the kids would have been bored, or it's good that the kids are at school because, lead with thanking the people. My God.
Yeah. I only wish I could, help be more present, right? Because I've got, and like I said, I work from home too, right? I'm a work from home parent. So I get it completely. That's definitely a factor, right? Like I need my time to get stuff done or to record a podcast or to go on a stream. So I totally get it. But yeah, you're right. Lead with the thanks. Lead with your child, because they are, frankly, the most important thing. If there's anything I've learned in my 7 months of fatherhood, that's what I would impart to people, is that the child comes first.
So speaking of children, we got another story. Peninsula School District is apparently suing TikTok, YouTube, and Snapchat. This is gonna be interesting. This is a lot of the things that we talk about all in one story.
And it's not Palo Alto, amazingly enough.
Students like Savannah Areola say they use social media for good things, like staying in touch with friends.
I get to see like what they're doing and kind of feel like I'm a part of their life that way.
And just share what I'm doing.
But they also admit that scrolling can get addictive.
Definitely track my screen time now. It's pretty appalling.
The San Mateo County Board of Education is concerned enough to file a lawsuit claiming TikTok, YouTube, and Snapchat are addictive and damaging to the mental health of many students.
No one gets off the hook for the health and well-being of our young people.
Superintendent of Schools Nancy McGee says the lawsuit, filed by Kachette, Petrie, and McCarthy of Burlingame, says the addiction comes from algorithms that can be damaging to students and has led to suicidal behavior and depression.
And when we try to work with social media companies to remove content that could be directly harming a child, it's very difficult.
One social media watcher says the problem is content, and chaotic content leads to profits.
You can lower the temperature of the algorithm if you want. But if you do that, if you have less interesting contents, you're going to have less people going to that website. You're going to have less advertisements, less money.
Another concern, the young people flat out love it.
It's addicting, you could say, but kind of a good way. You know, I just look at funny pictures of cats, but that brings you joy.
Your name is backwards. TikTok, Google, and Snapchat each declined to comment directly on the lawsuit, but they say they have built-in products to decrease screen time, allow parents to more easily monitor what their kids are watching, and they say they're working with mental health advocates to try and improve their products. Scott Budman, NBC, Bay Area News.
I don't think that the social media companies are really doing the thing they said they were doing at the end there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I believe that they're doing something in that realm, or they're doing something that might ostensibly on the surface do something good. But yeah, as far as investing time, investing resources, investing people power in solving this, I don't think that they really have an interest in it. Really.
Why would they?
Creating an addictive product. It's like the cigarette industry, like the tobacco industry. You think that they, just jumped for joy when someone said, "Oh, or they jumped to attention when someone said, "Oh, you're killing our people. You're killing America," right? They're like, "Oh, so super sorry about that. We'll do everything we can to take that harmful crap out of there and not kill people." No, of course not. It's still taken many, many decades, right, for us to extricate ourselves from that and to extricate something out of that industry. So, it's not in their best interest to do it, and it's exemplified by Twitter even right now, is desperate to make sure that they retain, legitimate accounts, right? I get emails up the ass when I don't pay attention to one of my accounts. I get all sorts of automated emails like so-and-so is tweeting, so-and-so is tweeting, so-and-so is tweeting. And it's like, come back to the site, right? Come back to the product, come back to the home base. So they're desperate to get you to keep checking in, right?
Are some of those just for accounts that are dormant because the project that they were on is over or whatever? Some of the emails you're getting?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, very much so. Or it could manage any accounts, right? Like I have a personal account, a professional account, client accounts. And some clients we don't do a whole lot. Or like my band, for example, right? We still have a Twitter account. It's out there. But we don't really tweet because we have nothing to talk about. But we get emails and notifications all the time. And that's the majority of the notifications we get now are on accounts that are rarely used, and it's just telling me something that happened on Twitter, right? News, or Elon Musk said this, or whatever. It just highlights, right? Just trying to get you to come back and feed the beast. So occasionally I just go in and honestly like retweet something or tweet something. Just I totally succumb to the tool because I just want them to stop emailing me for at least a couple days.
But this lawsuit, like, I think it's going nowhere. I think that, it's a noble idea, but I think it's going nowhere. It's the only place in which David really ever beats Goliath is that story in the Bible. So
yeah, and the school district doesn't really even have the standing, frankly. I think, to be honest with you, to sue, at least on the grounds that they're suing. The students would, the parents would, the families would, but I don't think the district has the standing to sue on behalf of their students in this way. If it's addictive, if it's a poison, right? The person who's being poisoned should have to file the suit.
Yeah, or like a class of the parents. There would be a class action from the parents.
And the school district could join that class, right? They could join that suit. But anyway, I agree. This is not going anywhere. It makes for a great story, right? It gets them out there. It gets that superintendent out there, regardless of what they want to do in the future with their careers, but puts them out in front and center on this issue.
Yeah, and all it does, like, it just kind of serves to annoy the legal departments of these companies, and
yeah, right.
That's not a great thing. Not a great thing to be doing is annoying the legal departments of giant companies.
Yeah, TikTok unleashes the hounds, right?
Right. They're like, oh, you thought that? Well, we're gonna check your location, and we're gonna turn up the temperature of the algorithm where you're at. So
it's a hot algorithm.
So the winds, basically the wind caused a lot of problems, and apparently it was knocking windows off of a building in San Francisco.
Yeah, and it wasn't Millennium Tower. Imagine that.
The glass is stuck to that thing pretty good, I guess.
This is an older building, actually, but still dangerous nonetheless.
Well, today's whipping winds created a hazardous situation in San Francisco's financial district. 2 panes of glass crashed down from the office tower at 555 California Street. KTVU's Jana Katsuyama is there live tonight. Jana, the threat of broken glass prompted an evacuation and a shelter-in-place order.
There was a shelter-in-place order, Julie, and you can see right here the tape that's still here. They just reopened California and Kearney in about the past 35 minutes. They said that they talked to the building managers here at 555 California. They said that they inspected all of the windows and deemed that everything was safe. But certainly it was a scary sight and just part of the damage we saw throughout the city and in the North Bay today. As wind gusts blasted through San Francisco Tuesday afternoon, a shocking sight. An office worker took video of glass falling from the high-rise at 555 California.
More's falling.
Large pieces crashing down.
It's glass.
San Francisco fire officials immediately issued a shelter-in-place order around 2 p.m., concerned that severe wind gusts might cause more glass to fall from that spot on the 43rd floor.
What we do know is that one window did break out of its frame, and it did fall to the ground, and another one is cracked. This is something that is unusual, but we're also experiencing highly unusual weather.
Shards of glass covered Kearney and California streets. One man said glass fell onto his car. San Francisco fire officials say no one was injured. The howling winds brought trees down and caused damage throughout the city. On Mission Street near South Van Ness, a tree fell into Muni lines and a car. The person inside was trapped until crews could de-energize the line and begin removing the trunk. Part of Mission Street was closed for hours as they repaired the damaged equipment. Across town at the Panhandle near Golden Gate Park, wind took down a massive tree overnight, bringing it crashing down onto cars parked on the street.
I think 3 out of the 4 lanes of traffic were completely blocked. It looked like there were about 4 cars underneath.
In Millbrae, a tree toppled onto 280, forcing lane closures as crews had to bring in heavy equipment to clear the road. And to the north, the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge was shut down for hours. Strong gusts caused a big rig to topple over, blocking traffic, while another car and trailer also fell over. The CHP had to divert traffic off the bridge until the winds died down so they can pull the vehicles back upright. In Corte Madera, officials shut down Casa Buena Drive after an official saw trees dangerously leaning over the road. Jim Cairns arrived to shore them up when they suddenly crashed.
Trees are like a wine glass. The soil covers the roots like the flare of a wine glass. And when that turns to liquid, there's really nothing to hold the tree up.
And back here live at 555 California, fire officials say that the building management said there was some construction going on up on that 43rd floor, but they do not believe that was the reason for the window breaking. They did say that other buildings around the area also checked their windows for safety, and they deemed that it was okay to reopen the roads tonight. Julie?
Jana Katsuyama reporting live for us tonight in San Francisco. Jana, thank you.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I like how they don't think that the construction had anything to do with it, but it's like, did windows fall off of any other floors that weren't having construction? Like, it's process of elimination, folks. Let's not rule anything out until you've ruled it out. Anyway, well, yeah, watch for falling glass, I guess, in San Francisco if you're walking downtown and it's fucking windy out.
I mean, those are big windows, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that, like, you would have the ability as a person to even see it as it happens. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're just walking down the street, you're not going to see it. It's not making any noise.
Yeah, no one's looking up like that anyway, right? And especially if it's windy, you're already like gusts of wind in your ear, right? You can't hear shit anyway. So, and no one's looking up in that situation. They're usually looking down, right? Trying to keep the wind out of your eyes. So, yeah, you'd just get smacked right in the dome. You'd be done. That would
it'd be over.
that would be the end
it's
of
not
you.
Smacked in the dome. That'd be it. That'd be it for you.
That would be it. Splish, squish, basically. So yeah, watch out for falling. Maybe pick your head up in downtown San Francisco nowadays and watch for falling glass, especially around Millennium Tower. You never know.
So this next story is, I put it on here. It's a little darker than the stuff we usually cover. So this involves mental health crisis, people dying on a bridge. I don't know. I guess we're just gonna have to let the news cover this and see what happened here.
We'll see if it plays.
Zach Sauce is out there to tell us a little bit more about what happened. There you are, Zach. Zach, I want to ask you a question before you start. That toll plaza there looks pretty slow, even in those carpool lanes. Is it slow?
Yeah, I mean, you would expect the toll plaza to be backed up on any day around this hour, but what you can't see from this angle is just the insane line that just really, really extends seemingly for miles down that way beyond me. So yeah, incredibly backed up right now. And basically, we mentioned what caused all of this earlier this morning, actually all night long. Police negotiating with a person who was suffering a mental health crisis on the bridge. They managed to talk that person off of the bridge about 2 hours ago and put him in an ambulance, and he's now getting a mental health evaluation. But again, all of this starting around 10 p.m. last night. The Highway Patrol closing several lanes as they tried to talk that person off the bridge. And because of that, traffic began quickly backing up, triggering a crash around 11:30 involving a big rig and a Dodge Charger near the on-ramp at Treasure Island. That Dodge Charger rear-ending the truck, and the aftermath of all of that captured by this Tesla driver cam. 2 people killed inside that car for several hours. All lanes along the bridge shut down as crews work to clear that wreck. And while police continue to negotiate with that person having a mental health crisis, but again, police have now removed that person from the bridge. All lanes back open here. But the residual traffic that we're seeing, that will probably continue for quite some time going westbound onto the Bay Bridge. For now, we're live in Oakland. Zach Sauce, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
That was also that was like a sad story, like the whole thing, but also like the news. It seemed like they were ill prepared. Something was hinky there.
Or he just didn't quite know that he was still on the hook for continuing the story. There's a line in there that I put in the docket, but the crisis, could not be averted before the morning commute was impacted. And it's like, okay, so 1, 2 people died. 2, another person had a mental health crisis. And hey, kudos to the police. Like the guy must have been white. because they got him off the bridge without killing him. So kudos to them. But apparently the whole crisis resulted in a couple other unfortunate deaths. So yeah, I'm sorry about the morning commute.
Yeah,
I'm really sorry. But that's them's the breaks. I'm pretty sure your boss is going to understand once they watch the news.
Right. You should have taken Bart.
Correct. Ding. Where's my bell? I don't want to ring the bell because baby will wake up, but ding. Anyway, well, speaking of police and reimagining policing, apparently there was a forum on improving policing, and San Jose police were, although it looks like maybe that's not a San Jose police officer. Anyway, sounds like San Jose police were not present.
South Bay law enforcement officials gathered in San Jose tonight to talk about policing and ways to better serve the community, especially communities of color. KTVU South Bay reporter LaMonica Peters live now in San Jose with more on that discussion and some solutions proposed at tonight's meeting. LaMonica.
Community members raised concerns about de-escalation practices, police brutality, and police response to mental health crises. Now, the panel consisted of both advocates and law enforcement who all say they're committed to making the community safer for everyone.
Our community doesn't want safety that comes at the expense of Black lives.
A community forum entitled De-Escalate, a conversation about public safety, was held Wednesday night in downtown San Jose.
Our community does not want safety that comes at the expense of brown lives and immigrant lives and foster youth and the lives of people with disabilities. It is a very high cost to pay.
Advocates Darcy Green and Derek Sanderlin sat on the panel along with the chief of police for the city of Santa Clara, Pat Nicolai, and newly elected Santa Clara County Sheriff Bob Johnson.
So part of the transition, we'll be coming out with a 100-day report actually in the very near future. By the end of the month, hopefully we'll have that completed, really outlining what we've accomplished in those first 100 days during this transition. But to the question that you posed, I think it's really important in rebuilding that trust with the community.
Questions were submitted in advance from the community, and the moderator from San Jose Spotlight asked about the impact of police brutality caught on video.
I think that we are deeply overwhelmed. And if we continue to watch, we have to consider the psychological harm that comes to us.
As issues of police brutality and police shootings were discussed, some solutions were also proposed, including decriminalizing homelessness, sustained investment in community building, and de-escalation training. Still, the panelists agree that our society overall has become more violent, threatening everyone's safety.
You see violent images, and it's not just police, it is across the board. And that's why in my career, I've seen lately more horrific violent crimes by younger and younger members of society. And so that does worry me. I agree.
Now, just last month, San Jose police received a failing grade from Sacred Heart, an advocacy group here in San Jose. Both the police chief here in San Jose and San Jose's Police Officers Association were invited to be a part of this panel, but they weren't there tonight. We reached out to both of them, and they didn't respond in time for this report. Julie?
LaMonica Peters live in San Jose tonight. Thank you. Well,
It was San Jose just like sour grapes because of their F grade, do you think? That's why they didn't show up?
I mean, it's like they know the score with Spotlight and, Derek and Sacred Heart, right? They know that that's not really a room for them. And, the Santa Clara police chief is probably in a safe space going there, right? Because kind of nothing happens in Santa Clara, right? So no one really has any beef with him, even though he's just another white male police chief. And then Bob Johnson is just hoping that they spell his name right in the Chiron, and they don't. so too bad for the new sheriff. But yeah, so that it's a bit of like not sour grapes so much as like they know it's not their audience anyway, so they're not going to lose any face, right, with anyone that supports them by or could support them by not attending, right, and they're not going to make any friends by attending anyway either, because they'll just get or at least they feel they'll get attacked or they'll be under the microscope, right, and it won't be about a dialogue, right? Even though it should be, right? It's Spotlight, it's professional, it's journalism, so it should be, and it probably would have been friendly. They wouldn't have. I don't think they would have done any sort of gotcha shit. So yeah, it's unfortunate that they weren't there, or it could have just been scheduling. But the fact that they didn't respond at all is kind of, to the news inquiry, is kind of surprising, or not surprising, but it says a lot.
I mean, San Jose is the biggest city in this valley. The San Jose, like, nobody from them showing up sort of leaves a big part of the conversation unhad.
Yeah, I mean, San Jose is half of the Santa Clara County in terms of population and geographic area. So it's, without San Jose in the picture, nothing gets done really in Santa Clara County. And yet, all the other 14 cities constantly rail about San Jose having too big of a slice of a pie or too big of a voice in decision making, like around VTA, right? Like the transportation and other regional issues. But the fact of the matter is, the city represents half of the county. So we should have our fair share of the pie. And we should be able to have a large voice in these conversations. But they just chose not to here. I will point out, the city council also got pretty much all F grades from the Sacred Heart, except for one council member who'd recently termed out, Councilmember Perales. Maybe it was favoritism. He's a cop. Who knows? Or was a cop. But he got a D, or a D minus. They said we give you credit because he actually proposed some reforms and proposed and helped to shepherd along some of the reform proposals. So kudos to him. He didn't get an F, but didn't get a passing grade either.
Well, we're moving on to get your shit together, and this is the state of California is proposing to remake San Quentin prison, emphasizing rehab. This is one of those I'll fucking believe it when I see it stories. Let's see how KTVU Fox 2 News covers it.
Prison will no longer house inmates on death row. Governor Newsom plans to transform San Quentin into a prison that focuses more on rehabilitation.
KTV's Ali Rasmus joining us now with some of the changes the governor has planned. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, some of those changes mean that all current death row inmates at San Quentin will be moved to other prisons in the state. Many of them already have. And in the future, San Quentin will no longer be a maximum security facility. Governor Newsom says he wants this prison instead to become the largest education, job training, and rehabilitation facility in the state. Now, we don't know the timeline or how quickly this will happen, but some of the prison's more dangerous inmates have already been moved to other prisons across the state. The governor wants San Quentin to follow a prison model used in Norway, which focuses on preparing people to return to society when their sentence is up by training them for jobs and teaching them how to live on their own. Norway has one of the lowest recidivism rates. About 3 out of every 4 people incarcerated there don't end up in prison again. The governor set aside $20 million in his recent state budget to pay for this transformation. States like Oregon and even North Dakota have recently enacted similar reforms in some of their state prisons. The governor announced this change as part of his 4-day tour across the state. He will be in Marin County later this morning to talk about the plan to change the focus of San Quentin Prison. Dave and Pam, back.
Yeah. As soon as, if they implement this, as soon as, people find out what's going on, that these people aren't being punished there, or that the primary goal isn't punishment, the tough on crowd people are going to lose their fucking minds.
True, but we are in California, and California is becoming more and more and more progressive every single day. So that once vocal majority is now a vocal minority. So I think Newsom and others are making educated political assumptions here that they're going to be okay, that there's going to be more people that support this than don't, right? So I think the tough on crime folks will obviously not like this. Someone like me loves this. I have a relative in the California penal system. They have stayed at San Quentin. It is not a very pleasant place, regardless of why you're there or how they're treating you or what their focus is. If our entire penal system were focused on rehabilitation, true rehabilitation, and truly ending recidivism and ending the schools to prison pipeline and ending the prison to prison pipeline, then we would make a much larger investment than this, right? It wouldn't just be a pilot project at San Quentin. We would have this this should be happening throughout the system. There's no need for a pilot project. We know, it's very well known what will solve these issues, or what could solve these issues, and what are the most effective things to solving these issues. And we're just not doing them or investing in them in a substantial way. So this is a good start, but like you, I will believe it when I see it. And that's everything I said being true. The vocal minority also has a lot of money and lobbyists, and they can make a lot of noise in Sacramento, even for folks who don't necessarily agree with them.
just trying to even get the staff that's there maybe to change their mindset is going to be pretty challenging. I think a lot of the guards or whatever are used to like this authoritarian sort of like way of doing things. And sure, I mean, like whatever, even if they change to this model, sure, the prison, the people who run the prison are still in charge, but just the tone and like the way that everybody's talking to everybody and stuff, that's all going to have to change, or otherwise what they're doing is just going to be window dressing. Because if you're still being treated like shit by the people who you're interfacing with, because that's how they know the job, because these things do have inertia, then then it's just going to be like you're going to feel like you're a photo op, and then you're not going to be very happy. You're not going to be very happy.
Depends how they roll it out, right? There's going to be people like you said, there's going to be plenty of resistance. There's going to be wardens and guards and people who've been involved in the system for a very long time and have gotten used to doing things the same way for a very long time, and maybe even got into the system because they do things that way, right? And then there's folks who I'm guessing have been in the system for a long time and have seen the problems and genuinely want to change and want to see it evolve. Maybe don't have the power to do it. So hopefully the governor coming in can give them that cover, can give them that power to change. But it's really not going to happen unless he's willing to and we're willing to make the heads roll. Like, if you don't want to get on board with this new mentality, right, then we don't have any need for you in our system, right? We need we need leaders who are on board with it, who believe in it, who believe that we can rehabilitate people. And if you don't believe that, then you probably want to find some other kind of work and force them out. But that's really hard, right? Public employees, especially with tenure and all those other things, right? So we shall see. Like you said, we'll keep an eye on it like we do on Downballot. But California is trying to get its shit together. So I wanted to celebrate that this week.
Yep. I mean, yeah, we'll see. 20 million doesn't seem like a whole lot of money considering the massive scale of San Quentin prison, but maybe,
well,
maybe more is forthcoming.
The prison system. Yeah, the prison system itself is like billions and billions billions of dollars. So it's a huge complex system. And 20 million is a drop in the bucket.
So we're going to move down to Downballot. It's been a little bit of a slower week in local politics, but it does look like some tiny homes are or are not coming to San Jose. I'm not hopeful. We have a lot of KTVU Fox 2 this week, so let's see what their spin is on this.
Governor Newsom kicked off his tour of the state today, focusing on an issue that has challenged California for many years. That would be homelessness.
Yeah, Newsom wants to see a 15% reduction in the state's homelessness numbers by 2025. And to help do that, he's offering more funding and using tiny homes. Our political reporter Greg Lee joining us now to explain this latest effort.
Yeah, guys, the governor said the state needs to provide more options, and this is one of them. He said California has made some progress in this space, but more needs to be done. The state plans to spend about $30 million on these 1,200 tiny homes and hopes to have them ready by the fall.
New energy demands new expectations, new results.
Standing in front of several tiny homes, Governor Newsom announced his latest effort to tackle the state's homelessness crisis. Newsom is enlisting the National Guard to build and deliver 1,200 tiny homes around the state to serve as interim housing.
When that individual is ready, that we have a place to go, or at least another option in terms of the alternatives to living out in the streets and sidewalks.
Local governments will own the homes and be in charge of placing residents. San Jose will receive 200, Los Angeles 500, 350 to Sacramento, and 150 to San Diego County. Newsom spoke from Sacramento, the first stop on his 4-city tour, replacing a traditional State of the State address. According to 2022 federal data, California has the highest rate of homelessness in the country.
How angry we are as Californians about what's going on the streets and sidewalks in our state, and what's not happening to address it with the kind of urgency that is required.
Newsom also announced California will open up another $1 billion to local governments. Last year, funding dissatisfied with plans that he said would reduce homelessness numbers by 2%. He says newly revised proposals aim for a 15% reduction statewide by 2025.
No money without a plan. Plans with numeric goals, real strategies, compelling relationships that need to be formed city and county and regionally.
Since taking office, Newsom's approved more than $20 billion for housing and homelessness and to respond to the state's more than 170,000 unhoused people. State Republicans said an audit of the funding and a new approach is needed.
I don't believe that this really makes a dent in that crisis and in the need for what we really need in our state. We are not getting the results that we are seeking to get by just spending money. And so I would like the governor to get more serious about where that money is going.
Governor Newsom will continue his state tour in the Bay Area tomorrow, where he'll talk about public safety. Then Saturday in L.A. about health care, and Sunday in San Diego about mental health care reform. As it relates to homelessness, he's demanding accountability. We will see how local municipalities deliver that and what the barometer is.
Yeah, that's going to be the key to all this. All right, Greg, thank you.
And as Greg just reported,
it struck me that the tiny houses they showed, the inside of one of them, that looked like a fucking prison cell. Like,
you know what? Actually, it was funny. We were talking about the San Quentin story, right? And you had this one queued up, and the first image was Newsom, touring the thing with the military guy, right? The National Guardsman.
Yeah.
And I thought it was actually a frozen clip from the end of the previous story about San Quentin. Like, these are the new cells we can create for the inmates to make them feel, more comfortable or more soothing for them. Yeah, no, that's exactly exactly it. Tiny homes are what they are, right? They are interim housing. They are not intended to be in any sort of permanent space for someone. They're not intended to be the most glamorous space for someone. They're intended to be a space with a roof. That's pretty much at basics, right? And if we're kind of squishy, apparently still about just finding space where people can just pitch their fucking tent and have their shit and be safe and clean, right? If we're squishy about that, then this is the next best thing, is giving them at least some sort of space, right? That has a roof, that has water, that they can get their stuff into. They can even cook in, and gets them on a path, right? This is not the final destination at all, and it shouldn't be. But it's a piece of the path. So anyway, yet to be seen if this actually. We saw Mayor Zuck, or Mayor Tech Bro, Mayor Peter Thiel, who was standing right beside Newsom in that story, probably because San Jose was getting 200 of these jobbies. And this is his big thing. He's like, let's build more shelter faster and get more people in there, right? If it was up to him, he'd take the, fairgrounds or some large site in North San Jose or in the wasteland somewhere, build a bunch of barracks, pick up all the homeless friends and just drive them up there and drop them off and, let them fend for themselves, right? With a couple guards posted on duty, right? That's what he'd do if he had his druthers. But this is the next best thing, is building a bunch of these things. But the thing is, you got to get the people to buy into it, especially in his neighborhoods down, your neck of the woods, Almaden, right, where they may not be all that excited about.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is like, okay, there have been 200 of these allocated to San Jose. Now the fight is on about where they're going.
Yeah, I mean, and eventually they're going to end up in places where a lot of the other ones end up, like downtown, and places where the where there's need for sure. Like, obviously you see quite a bit of our unhoused population in and around downtown, Guadalupe River and that area. But folks are unhoused throughout our community, and the need is throughout our community. But those areas also have less political clout sometimes, and less money, less affluence, so they're less heard. So the resistance is less, right? Or maybe they're less informed. Whereas in your neck of the woods, one neighbor gets a bug up their butt and emails all the other neighbors or goes on Nextdoor about it, right? And suddenly 200 people show up at a community meeting saying, no homeless in my neighborhood, right? So, and then council members either, have huevos and move forward and do what's right, or they succumb to the NIMBYs and they shout right along with them and try to make political points that way. So
the thing you had said about the fairgrounds and the barracks, I actually think like that's a good idea. Because that's permanent public housing, not these little things you can just tow away, right? Or if you build something, it's there forever, or forever, but it's more permanent. Now, I don't like the idea of putting it all the way out at the fairgrounds or whatever, but if that's where the land is, that's where the land is.
The idea is a lot of these things, but like a shit ton of these things, basically, right? Like just like temporary interim housing, but more like a concentration camp than anything else. Not like legit housing. There are projects all over town that are happening in some stage or could be happening with the right financing. Nonprofit developers, the city are doing them. that are like, public housing. Basically, it's all public subsidized housing, and some of them are open, doing really well. Some of them are challenging to manage, are proving challenging to manage, but they're out there, and there's examples of them. It's just that your community and your neighborhood has to accept them, right? Otherwise, it creates political challenges for getting it done. It shouldn't. The impetus should just be do what's right, and the majority of people agree. I don't think I think most people would be okay with these kind of things, even in their own neighborhood. It's just that you have a vocal body out there that votes, right? They vote. The folks that don't care or maybe aren't excited about it, they don't necessarily vote as much, right? And that's why are we here? And on Downballot, we want to make sure that we'll go vote, get engaged, have a voice. It's the only way that we can't be apathetic. The only way we actually get the change. We have an opportunity to get the change. It's right there. The vote is right there for us. It's given to us by our white slave owning, predecessors. Let's use it. That's my soapbox for today.
Yeah, I don't like this temporary housing shit, but I guess it's better than nothing. Whatever. Something
is better than that, but it only with adequate wraparound services and services to make sure that folks are there temporarily, right? That they're not stuck in the cycle again, or they're not kicked out of this temporary housing and they're back on the street again, right? Like they have somewhere to go. They're developing career skills, or they're getting job placement, and they're getting housing placement, right? And we're building like what you're talking about, more, traditional housing for folks, public housing that's high quality. And we can do it. We've done it. I can actually send examples out to the chat of high quality public subsidized housing that looks great, like that you or I would be totally fine living in and calling home.
Well, that would be the point of public housing, is that it's literally for the public.
Correct.
That it doesn't actually it's not like, good public housing in Europe, just regular people, like just people, that's just one of the places they look at if they're looking for a flat or whatever.
Yes.
They look at council. What are they in the UK? Council flats, I think they're called, or whatever. It's like owned by the locality, or partially owned by the locality, and that's just one of the places that some people fucking live because they're like, oh, this is a great apartment. Oh, okay, I'll take this.
Yeah, and it's the kind of, we need housing for not just folks who are unhoused right now, but people who are at risk of becoming unhoused because they're being priced out, like teachers and service employees and other, bus drivers, you name it, right? There's so many people out there that are on the cusp. They're full-time workers. They're making a salary, but they don't have the money that it takes to afford the rents here, right? So we need housing for them too.
Or just young people, young people who are just getting out of college. If they don't want to even deal with like a bunch of crap, they can just be like, well, we'll go to this apartment complex for now and figure out what we're doing. I mean, there's any number of reasons. You're selling your house and a couple months you want to go, like, there's just a million things where people of all different classes would benefit from a robust public housing system, even fairly wealthy people. Like if there's just a situation where you're selling your house, it might be nice to have an apartment to live in for a couple months while you deal with all the associated stuff. I mean, I could think of you just moved here. You just got a job. The job pays real well, but you just moved here and you have to go do your work. So that maybe now you're not really worried about your housing situation because you're in this, you got hooked up with this public housing situation. Maybe you only stay for 3 months, but that's good for you. So that's pretty much the end of the docket, but we do have another thing. And this is a human interest story. Apparently, I don't know anything about this story, but it looks like some customers of apparently a popular food truck in Oakland helped them get back into business after maybe they fell on some hard times. Let's see what happened here.
It's not just coffee, it's a good morning.
It's all in the name, coffee and toast.
My favorite item is the strawberry, blueberry, peanut butter toast.
This Oakland food truck that aims to help customers start their day on the right foot has instead been parked since last month after it was broken into and stripped of nearly everything inside. It happened just 9 months after Tiffany Stewart got things up and running.
I fell down and cried because I think that people don't realize when you rob or you burglarize a coffee truck or a food truck or whatever, you're not taking from a big corporation. You're taking from a mother. You're taking from a father. You're taking from a community member.
She tells us the truck was targeted overnight while it was parked in a church parking lot. The thieves not only stole the generator and security cameras, but also destroyed the plumbing and electrical systems. Stewart says the damages will cost her at least $5,000, and those costs grow every day. She's not in business. Now customers and strangers are rallying behind her to get the truck back on the road.
She's a black woman, a mother, and it brought a lot of us together. I would, meet people at the cart, so it does mean a lot to us.
Kendra Edwards is part of nearly 100 supporters who have raised more than $4,000 through a GoFundMe to help with repairs. But Edwards says their efforts go beyond a good cup of coffee.
So to see somebody lead their own business, start it up, physically build it out, from scratch, it is important to see that kind of representation.
Representation and determination, Stewart hopes she can continue to serve up once her business is back in gear.
And I hope that this sparks something in all of us to make sure that the things that we want to reflect our community that we fight for, and that means safety, that means accountability.
In Oakland, Valina Jones, NBC Bay Area News.
When they said the damage amount, I was expecting it to be like 50 grand.
Yeah, so at least it's not that bad, but and good on the community for stepping up and helping out a food truck. I was thinking the other day, there's a place down the street, not a food truck, but a restaurant down the street from our house. And it's been it's one of those places, it's been 5 different restaurants in 5 years, right? Like everything that goes in there fails. And, I could sit there wondering, walking by every time, like, why is it failing? Or when is this one going to fail? And I've never been in there. like maybe if we actually took some time and went there instead of one of our just usual haunts, right? And tried it out, and maybe we like it. And maybe we don't, but at least if we went there and other people had that same mentality, it would still, one of these places would take off. It just takes the community coming together. So to keep these places alive. And that's why it's important to pay attention to gentrification. That's why it's important to frequent your local businesses. Make sure you're shopping local as much as possible. It's hard, obviously, not to give your money to corporations, but as much as you can, give back to businesses in the community, because without them, it's really not worth living in an area, right? It's not worth living somewhere if you can't go to that place or that person or that business that just makes you feel at home, gives you some comfort.
Yeah, like one of the things about this area is a lot of chains, right? Like where I live, and so there's a couple spots that I like to go to that aren't chains, and one of them's a pretty cool bento box spot. But it's harder. Like where I was before, the city just wouldn't let chains onto Campbell Avenue. They're like, no, oops, what permit? But like here, you got the mall. The mall's going to let whoever's got the money in.
Yeah, the business association in Campbell is very strong. They look out for their own, and they look out for the character of their community too. So good for them.
They have to. That's why people go there.
Hell yeah. Well, people go to this truck for coffee and toast, obviously. So if you like coffee and you like toast, go to Coffee and Toast. That's our endorsement for the week.
And what they were saying is like that one lady was like, oh, I've met people in line and stuff. That's what's kind of cool about like food truck culture is you end up, you're going to stand there before, you don't want to get in your car and like eat in your car or whatever. So you might hang around the food truck and kind of chop it up with the people in your neighborhood. And that's what's cool about food truck culture.
Totally. Oh, I meant this is all getting me really hungry, so I got to go and grab some lunch.
Yep. You want to read the show out?
Hell yeah, my friend. Well, thanks again for joining us. Another episode of Down Ballot. Keep downloading and keep forwarding this on to friends. Make sure that they download it and they find us on all their podcatchers, because it only works if we keep growing our network here. And obviously keep watching on Twitch. Keep giving us money on Patreon and everywhere else you can. Go to the support page on our website to find out all about that. And if you're still out there and you're unvaccinated, please get vaxxed. Wear a mask when appropriate. Pants are completely optional depending on where you are, right? And I just hope you have a great weekend. This is Audible Smoke. Have a great Friday night. Peace out.
the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later we're all singing Queen. Now get the fuck up on stage, man, rock the scene. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside?
I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily.
We do what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band.
Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yeah,
we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just sit back and enjoy the band. So sit back, just sit back and enjoy the band. We just do what we want, and enjoy what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Just sit back and enjoy what we want is to jam. Just sit back.
Echoplex Media is live Wednesday through Sunday on Twitch. Shows start at 7 or 9 p.m. Pacific. You can get our whole schedule at echoplexmedia.com. Make sure to follow us, twitch.tv/echoplexmedia. Enjoy the show.